Hey everyone, my name is Aiden. I'm one of the co-founders here at Fellow. I'm super excited to have you all here today to tell you about Fellow version 3.5. We're launching this today. We've been working really hard over the last few months to make it all possible. Very excited to share all of that with you today. And what I wanted to do was draw your attention to the theme behind what we're going to be showing you today. I think the world has changed. We're in this remote work and hybrid phase of work. And in this new hybrid phase, it's all about efficiency. It's all about how do we get more value out of each person's time? How do we spend less time in meetings? And the meetings that we do attend, how do we make them a lot more productive? How do we keep everybody engaged with the company overall? And I think a large part of this, and we've heard you say it, is your meeting culture. Today, we want to reveal a series of tools that are going to give you everything you need to actually change your meeting culture. It's all baked into everything that we're working on. We're super excited. We want to make it so that every person in your company lives by the statement, no agenda, no attenda. Will help you change your meeting culture. And let's dig right in. Manuela, it's good to see you again.
Aiden, thank you. I'm so excited to be here. You know, it's a special day for me.
Yeah, this is a special product launch because you're recording this from somewhere in Europe today, right?
Yes, I am working remotely. We're an all remote company and I'm super thankful for that. But it's also my birthday. So thank you all who attended today for that reason.
Yeah, I was going to say happy birthday. You beat me to the punch. I was going to say happy birthday.
What do you have to show us today? I'm really excited.
So much stuff. You know, I think like the main thing, and if people saw the intro video, it's all about helping you change your meeting culture, right? Like we can give you tools, but if those tools don't make it easy for you to go across your team and your organization to say, hey, we're going to change the way we do meetings here. If they don't make it easy for you, it's, like, what's the point? That's what we've really worked on here. But I think like a lot of this was actually triggered by some work that you did. I mean, you ran a survey recently that found a bunch of really interesting things, right?
Yes. So both the marketing and customer success teams ran a survey together where we found that because of Fellow, people are actually spending 16% less time in meetings. And they're saving so much time that Fellow is saving companies around $7,000 per manager per year when they use Fellow. So those were really exciting stats for us to find out through the survey. And we're really excited to show the features that we built after finding this, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's super interesting. And, some of this is because obviously if you have an agenda and a plan for a meeting, you can actually, instead of an hour, spend 50 minutes in that meeting. But it's also some of these meetings are turning into asynchronous meetings. Some you're finding that like it's half asynchronous, half synchronous. So like there's a lot of ways that this time savings is coming. And I don't even think we're counting any of the time savings for everybody else. We're just saying for managers alone, companies end up saving $7,000 a year.
Yes, those are some of my favorite stories. We had the chance to talk to some of our users recently, and a lot of them have transitioned to asynchronous meetings in Fellow when they realized that they were only sharing status updates. So really thankful to have had those conversations with users. And thank you to all of you who answered the survey.
And so, I mean, this is really interesting. And so what we did was we took that and we said, well, how can we showcase this stuff to everyone? And so why don't I start by sharing my screen and we can dive right in. Let's run through this. So basically, the first thing that we're going to show you, and we worked really hard on this, we built this new section that we're calling Meeting Analytics. It's true that we had an analytics section before, but they weren't really deep diving meeting analytics to show you how we can help you change the culture, your meeting culture. And so the way you get there is pretty easy. Click on your profile and go to the analytics page. There is a beta label on it, as with a lot of new things that we publish. But this is what the screen looks like. It is pretty comprehensive in the sense of like you can scroll down for quite a bit of time, and there's all these tabs. There's a calendar tab and a members tab, and like each one of these sections has, a lot of things going on. One, I'm very excited for everybody to go through all that stuff. But what I wanted to do is maybe just emphasize a couple of things that I really enjoy looking at. The first one is actually this metric right here, which is at the end of the day, if you bring in Fellow, one of the things that we're saying is your meetings are going to start having agendas. A lot of companies adopt the no agenda, no attenda policy. And for people who use Fellow, that starts to become no Fellow, no meeting. And that wasn't something that we created. A lot of our users are just doing this. And so it's a very interesting concept to say, like, sorry, we cannot have a meeting unless there is an agenda and unless it's in Fellow. Looking at these meeting stats, and this is a test account with some test data, but you can see here, for example, 7,000 hours of meeting time. And that includes, if 100 people are in a meeting and they have a 1 hour meeting, that's 100 hours. And so this is also over the last 60 days, just to give you a sense. And so over the last 60 days, that much meeting hours started with an agenda, which is very good. It's 78% up over the last period. The other thing to look at that is a breakdown, right? So 33% of the meetings in this data set, they had meetings, but there was no agenda. I think like the thing to think about, I mean, what would you do with this data?
I would look at the no agenda percentage and really try to decrease that over time or make that go down. I think it would be a really cool company-wide initiative, right? Like, hey, let's all work towards this number and making it lower with time.
Yeah, totally. So that's exactly kind of how we expect that people will take advantage of that. There's a bunch of insights at the bottom that basically drill down on some of this information. The other thing is like the breakup of types of meetings that you might have. So we break it up into, how much do you spend in one-on-ones, two-person meetings, group meetings, and et cetera. And if we kind of scroll down here, I'll show you some of the other interesting stats. One is you can actually drill down, right? So let's say that you wanted to look at the last 30 days, for example. And what you can do is right now this shows the data for everybody because it's the entire workspace. But the cool thing is the drill down, the way it works is we give this access to everybody. So for example, if you wanted to check your own team, and we can look you up here. And so this is what it does. It aggregates everybody in your org. And this is what it looks like. So what's really cool about this is how many hours are spent in meetings with an agenda. You can kind of see the breakdown of how that's happened. There's some other things as well. We talk about like percentage of meeting collaboration, like, the people who are attending the meetings, how many of them are actually collaborating on the meeting itself, which is a sign of inclusiveness. This is one of my favorite ones. It's like, how much time did you actually spend preparing for the meeting? Obviously, yours looks really good because most of it has good preparation time. And this is measured by, how far in advance are you actually preparing for this meeting? If you're doing it like 10 seconds before the meeting starts, or like you're writing the agenda while the meeting is going on, maybe that's not as great, but yours here looks really good. And you can kind of see that. The other one is we like to say meetings should have clear takeaways, right? And so this kind of graph breaks it down in terms of, how many of your meetings have clear takeaways and which ones don't. And then we also emphasize feedback. So this chart will give you some information about how many of your meetings have feedback and how many don't. So it's pretty comprehensive. There's some other views as well. You can see kind of like the breakdowns completely by everybody on your team. So you can see those sorts of things.
Awesome. I can see some teams getting a little friendly competition going on here to make sure they're preparing ahead for their meetings, to make sure they're completing action items. I know some users have already told us that they do this internally, and it really helps them build that culture, right, of efficient meetings.
Exactly. And so one of the other ones, I'll mention this as well, but like, I think really the power here is, we report on focus time, which is another thing. This is also an important one, which is like the size of meetings. Are they tiny? Are they small, medium, or large? You don't have any large meetings. So that's good. I mean, in general, we want to reduce the person hours that are spent on any particular task, right? To the most efficient level. And then of course, there's like the meeting length. And you also don't have any, you have a very small percentage of what's considered long meetings, right? So yeah, I think in general, and this is, over the last little while, and it's for your whole org. I think I guess, as someone who leads a team, who's a leader in an organization, I mean, what would you do with this data?
Yeah, I was going to say, I would love to see if my team is having too many meetings that are way too long or that have too many attendees and are large meetings. And I think it would be an efficient way to just show them the data and say like, hey, are we having too many meetings that are taking too much time for too many people, right? I think it's very insightful as a leader to look at how the team is spending their time in meetings and really try to make those efficient and also reduce the number of meetings. We want you to have meetings that are effective, not just a lot of ineffective meetings.
So I think like the point to get across is that, a lot of companies are adopting Fellow for the whole company, thousands of people at the same time. And obviously we have companies of all sorts of sizes using Fellow, but say that you want to deploy Fellow at a 2,000 person company, as an example. I mean, to really change your meeting culture, you also have to give those tools to the individual managers on the team. Like how's a director of engineering going to be able to change the culture of meetings if they don't have the tools to be able to see what's going on, right? So I think like this is super powerful. We're very committed to helping you change your meeting culture. And whether you're a small team, a large organization, like you can use this to make this happen. And we're very excited to get it into your hands. With that said, so that was the first thing that we talked about. So we talked about, the meeting culture. The other thing that I think is interesting in changing meeting culture, it's got to be really easy for you to interact with Fellow and keep it in sync and up to date. A lot of Fellow was, when we first started, it was really teams, like small teams using Fellow. Now, departments, organizations, large companies, everybody's trying to use Fellow. And one of the things is we want to make it really easy for you to keep Fellow in sync with the tools that you use, right? The worst thing in the world is that if you want to change your meeting culture, the worst thing is like this tool is separate from other tools and it just doesn't stay in sync with your HRIS. People do org structure changes, people change teams. That stuff just has to stay in sync. And up until now, a lot of people have been doing these things manually. I think it was really time to change that. So, imagine you're a fast growing company, you just hired 50 people, how do you keep that information up to date in Fellow? What we've done is we've added a lot of new sections into our workspace settings page. And the first thing that I'm going to show you is the enhanced manage users section. What you can see here is that, before you always had the ability to add a new user, but now what you can do is if you go to more actions, you can see that there's two new options that allow you to do things in bulk. One of them is import users from CSV file. What's really nice about this is you can download the template, and you download the template, you edit it, you throw in the email addresses, the fields you want, you upload it back, and everything gets updated. What's really cool about this is a lot of times people change teams, and so managers may change, and Fellow needs to know whose manager is so that we can set up the one-on-ones correctly, as an example. And this is a way to just bulk do that. And it's very easy to do and something that we strongly recommend. And now the CSV makes this a lot easier. Similarly, org structure changes. If people are no longer part of the org and you want to deactivate some people, again, the deactivation template will also allow you to do that. But the whole idea is using this and using the template, it's going to become super fast to import users.
I know a lot of workspace admins must be doing a happy dance right now because they were requesting this feature a lot.
Oh, yeah. I have to say, it used to be very annoying to do this one by one. This bulk import is going to make it a lot easier. We've always had things like HRIS sync if you use a Bamboo HR or something like that. But if you didn't use an HRIS, we didn't have a bulk import. So now we do. So yes, that is definitely worthy of celebration. So along those same lines, though, we also have this other thing that we're calling manage teams. So teams are a construct in Fellow. Anyone who uses Fellow for goal setting or for OKRs, you've seen us launch that in the past. And what's really nice about that is Fellow allows you to embed your OKRs and goals right in the meeting where you actually discuss the stuff the most. One of the things is a lot of times, for example, you might have some goals, but really the marketing team has some goals. The challenge is people, what if you hire new people to the marketing team? What if someone leaves this marketing team and works on another team? And how do you keep all of that stuff in sync? So one thing we've done now is if you go to the new add new team button, it's similar to before, but I'll just call this, say, marketing org, for example. And when you do something like this, you can do some fun things like select a parent team, which is useful, team purpose, location, some things like that, a handle. But this is the new stuff. So what's really cool about this is you can say, I want this team to be based on, say, like if I wanted it to be based on you, I could say based on Manuela. And so what this is going to do is it's just going to, right, there's two ways to do this. You can either you can add the users manually, or the other thing is you choose the manager. So in this case, if I choose you as a manager, what ends up happening is it's just going to import all the users on your team. And then once you press create team, it's a set it and forget it. You don't have to ever check this again.
Awesome. So if someone joins the team later in the year and they report to this person that you selected here, in this case, myself, they would immediately join that team in Fellow.
100%. Yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
So it's kind of a set it and forget it. Once you do it based on the manager, that's how it's going to be tracked. The other thing that you'll notice here is that there's also Google Workspace based teams. That's because we use Google Workspace. If you were on the Microsoft suite, it would have the Microsoft option there. And of course, there's also Octo. The idea being that if you have these other tools and you already have teams set up in them, if you have those teams inside of Fellow, like those teams can just sync with whatever you've got going on in those other systems. And so again, it stays in sync. So you only have to update things once. You update it in Google Workspace or on the Microsoft suite, and then it's just going to be visible inside of Fellow. Another really good addition. So, you hire those 50 people, you want them to be in sync. Now you've got a way to do that. So again, really trying to make it frictionless for you to be able to change the meeting culture within your company. The thing is, like, if you now hired another 50 people, you've got a growing organization, there's a lot going on. One of the other things that might be happening is you might now have board meetings. And so this is one of my favorite use cases of Fellow actually is using Fellow for my board meetings. If I look at our schedule today, it turns out that we actually have a board meeting today that I've conveniently plugged into my calendar here. This is a test board meeting that I've created. As a matter of fact, I should probably apply a nice template to it. And as you know, we have a lot of really good templates, from David Sachs, who happens to be an investor in Fellow. So I'm going to
was also on our podcast. So make sure to listen to episode 100 of Super Managers if you haven't.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Episode 100 of Super Managers podcast, which is a podcast we host, is incredible. All the episodes are, but since we're talking about David.
Yeah, back to the demo.
Yeah, back to the demo. So now I've applied this template. One of the things that happens often in a board meeting, which is you may not know when the next one happens, right? If you have a meeting and you don't know when the next occurrence is going to happen, it's going to happen next quarter, but you're going to have to get everyone's availability. And it's not set in advance. But sometimes what you want to do is you basically want to write something down for a future agenda. So whenever you do end up meeting, it would be nice if you had an agenda set for that time. So we've created this brand new thing that we're calling the new note button. Some of you may have noticed this. This is actually one of the few things that's already live, is this new note button. And the way it works is that if it is a recurring meeting and you click new note, it's just going to go to the next one in the meeting. But if it's not a recurring meeting, or you don't want to use the next recurring instance, you also have this drop down here. And what you can do is you can always add an unscheduled note to the meeting. And you can see now this is an unscheduled note. There's no date and time. The same template kind of exists. And what you can do is you can add changes to this, discuss growth numbers. And so this is going to be for the future meeting. So you can see, this is the meeting that I have today. And this is a meeting that is yet unscheduled. It hasn't been scheduled yet, but I'm now able to create another instance of it. And what's really cool about that is one day, obviously it is going to end up in my calendar, and it is going to have, a date and time associated with it. And when that happens, I can click set date and time, and effectively choose whatever meeting and then assign it to that meeting. So it really makes this super convenient.
It is amazing. It's one of those little things that makes a huge difference, because now people can get into the habit of preparing in advance, even for meetings that aren't scheduled yet. So that's awesome.
So another thing that I wanted to show you, and it's kind of related. So one of the nice things that you'll actually notice is that in Fellow, you always had the ability to make a bullet. But the way that you would do that before is you would have to press tab. And so something that we've changed is, and typically in our board meetings, we like to make a lot of numbered lists. And so this is a small thing that we added, but I think it's going to make a huge difference. Is now when you select something inside of Fellow, like this, you have the ability to change it to either a bullet point, or if you wanted to change it to a numbered list. This just makes it really easy for you to have all sorts of, I guess, lists inside of Fellow. And so this is a small change, but I know a lot of people have been requesting this. And
this is what we call a delight feature, right, Aiden?
yeah, this is definitely a user delight feature, and a lot of people are going to like it. This has been an addition. So all this to say is now you're going to have bulleted lists and numbered lists, and this is going to be included. You could have created the bullets in the past, as you can kind of see here. We've now put it directly into this menu over here. It also exists at the menu at the bottom, and a bullet or a numbered list. Those are things that you can add. And of course, there's now like shortcuts as well. If you type dash and then you press space, you get a bullet, and so on and so forth. So slight user delight feature, but I think user delight matters. So with that said, let's go back to just review some of the things we've talked about. So we've talked about changing meeting culture. And so that's done through the meeting analytics, giving you the tools to be able to go in and make sure that you're making the changes that you want. You hired 50 people now. All of them are going to stay in sync. And of course, now you have these board meetings, and using the new note button, you can start adding to agendas for meetings that aren't even scheduled yet, which is super, super powerful. The next thing you might say is like, well, I have a lot of meetings. And so, now that I have a lot of meetings, how do I keep organized? And so the way that a lot of people use Fellow is that they go to the meetings tab, they, kind of scroll, or they use this menu at the top. They go to a meeting, they click on it, and then they start using it. Or sometimes you might press Command K, start searching for a meeting and finding it. But a lot of people, if you're a power user, you've been using the home panel. And what's really nice is that if you do things like you star a meeting, you can now find it in your home panel, which you can kind of see here, and I can move this around. So you have a start stream section, you have your one-on-ones, and it kind of makes it easy for you to go to all of these meetings very quickly. But one of the things that we've been asked from time to time is, well, how do we change that so that like we get more customization? What if we wanted to have our own groups? What if we wanted to customize this? What if, we wanted one-on-ones to show up on top, as an example? And so we're going to show you this in a second of how it looks like. I wanted to show you the old version, and let me show you what the new version can actually look like. So if I go to this page over here and I go to our home panel, you can see that I have a whole bunch of new groups. These are all groups that I've created. It's very easy to do things like, move around these groups. For example, I can do things like delete a group, which is, pretty easy to do. And it also becomes easy to add new groups. So one thing I want to do is, this is the board meeting that we had, right? So I can do something like click on this, and instead of starring it, now I have the ability to either choose one of the groups that I've already created or create a new group. And so what I might do for this new group is maybe do something like, choose a cool emoji like this, and then just say not often, for example. So these are meetings that I'm going to not have very often. Board meeting is once a quarter. Mm-hmm. And we probably have some other ones. So for example, if I go to the test monthly staff meeting, maybe I'm going to add this to the not often category as well. And so what's really nice is now I have this not often thing, which I can kind of minimize, but I can also get to whenever I want. And if it's not often, maybe, I can kind of put this at the bottom. And this is a test group. I don't need to see it all the time, but maybe this one I leave open. All this to say
That's awesome.
Yeah, this is super flexible now, right? So you can, if you're in your home panel, rather than remembering what date to go to and to find it and so on and so forth, this allows you to just go from whatever the meeting is in whatever group, you can go there very, very quickly.
I love that we're giving people the ability to customize the home panel in any way they want. Personally, I'm going to organize my meetings by type, so I can see myself doing it by async meetings like you did right there, and then perhaps team meetings or project check-ins in another group. So I'm really excited to use this feature. I think it's going to help me organize my meetings and also prepare for them because it's very easily accessible.
And it's very easy to do that, right? So if you have an asynchronous section, you just click on new stream, whatever you want. And then I know you use it for shared action lists a lot, for example. So, and you can basically put all those things in the same place. It just gives you a lot of flexibility. I'm very excited. And I think people are going to make a lot of use of this in particular.
Yeah, let us know in the comments if you have any group ideas already.
Yeah, let us know what kind of groups you would use. That'd be really interesting. It might get us to change our defaults. Maybe there's some really good ideas. So the next thing that we want to talk about is, and we're not going to go through it in a lot of detail, but basically what we wanted to talk about is just the concept of merging streams. So let me describe a scenario. So again, going back to our fast growing company example that wants to change its meeting culture, you hired 50 people, you have board meetings. But now say that you have, you added a new member to your board. So maybe you don't want the new member to have access to your old notes, but you want the old members to continue to have that continuity. So if you go to your calendar and you change your invite and you add another person, Fellow automatically separates these two, right? So they won't be all in the same stream anymore. They're going to be two separate streams. In some cases, you might say, well, the new board member should be able to see the old stuff because he's a board member and he can see, or he or she can see everything. And so the way that you can actually make that happen in Fellow is we take the safe approach. If you change a meeting like that, we're just going to separate the streams because we don't want to give access accidentally. But if you want to give people access, there's always this option called merge stream. If you go to more actions and you click on merge stream, you can see that we have now completely revamped the merge stream function. And so what's really cool about it is the search is completely enhanced. And what you can do is you can search for any meeting, you can click on a meeting, we'll show you a preview. And what I wanted to point out is what the next screen looks like. So there's a lot of options here, and we'll tell you what features we're going to import from that old meeting stream. So for example, if that one has some integrations or that one has a different set of members, we can import those. So all this to say is we've enhanced this significantly. If you ever run into a situation where you have two meetings and you want to kind of merge them together, this is how you do it. But the other really cool feature is that sometimes you may start a meeting and it's an asynchronous meeting like the ones we've talked about. You then start to have a recurring calendar event and you want to merge those two. So all this to say, the merging can happen not just between two meetings, but you can also take a meeting and an asynchronous stream, for example, and you can merge them together. So the merge function has been enhanced. It's a lot more powerful. You can merge all sorts of things that you previously couldn't. And I think like for anyone that uses Fellow a lot, this is going to come in really, really handy.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's one use case where I see myself really always wanting this feature, and I'm so glad it's now a part of Fellow, is sometimes we create project checklists, like quick action item checklists as streams, and then we want to merge those into our team meeting notes or project check-in meeting notes. So that's an awesome new feature, and I'm super, super excited to use it.
Yeah, and so I think like there is one last thing that I'm going to quickly show, and I have a tab open so that we can get to it very quickly. But if you have a recurring meeting, one of the things that sometimes we've been asked is if you want to scroll down a long time to get to a particular meeting, you've always been able to scroll to get to past notes. But another user delight feature we've added is now if you click on the stream section, this is a faster shortcut way to get to whatever meeting, and the dates are there. So you can click on anyone and get there a lot faster too. Yeah, and so, these user delight features, I think definitely do help there. So with that said, I mean, I know that there's other members on the team. There's a lot more that we want to show everybody. But just super quickly before we pass it on, what was your favorite feature of the day?
I would say meeting analytics is really exciting because you can see how many meetings in your organization actually have an agenda and how people are completing action items and spending their time in meetings. But the home panel groups also is a really exciting feature for me because I attend a lot of meetings, both synchronous and asynchronous meetings, and I'm really excited to organize those in my own way. How about you? What's your favorite feature from this release?
I can't say I like one feature more than the other. They're all great. I really do like them a lot. But, because I do run a lot of board meetings, I did run into this situation where we wanted to create an agenda in advance. And it's not just board meetings, right? Sometimes I'll meet with an advisor and I know we're going to meet, once a quarter, but I don't know when that is. But then I'll have ideas of something I want to talk with that advisor about. and I won't have a place to put it unless like the meeting is already scheduled in our calendar. But this allows me to just go to the last meeting that I had with them, press new unscheduled note, like plop in my ideas, and whenever it occurs in the calendar, then I'm just going to associate it. So it just gives me a lot of flexibility. So for my use case, I'm very, very happy. So with that said, who's coming next?
Yes, we have Shannon, one of our senior product managers here at Fellow, who is going to show us some really exciting enhancements to our OKRs and feedback features. So stay tuned. Shannon, welcome back. I'm really excited to see what you have in store for us today.
Yeah, so excited to be back here and to show you some more enhancements that we've been working on. Yeah, so the two things I'm going to show you is some changes that we've made to the feedback feature to make the experience a little bit better, to be able to find feedback that you've sent or has been sent to you. And then I'm going to show you some changes that we've been making to continue to improve the experience of our objectives feature.
Amazing. Let's get into it.
So I'm now sharing my screen to show you some changes that we made to the feedback feature. And what we were looking to do here is to make it easier for you to find feedback that you've sent out, feedback that's been sent to you about yourself and about your team, and also action on feedback that requires your attention. So the first thing you'll notice that's different is we've moved the feedback inbox to show in this panel on the left-hand side. And the reason we've done that is so that if you're in a meeting and you need to flip to feedback, you can quickly do that by clicking on the feedback tab, and then you'll see all of your feedback here. To make it more clear which feedback requires your attention and action, we've added this banner at the top so you can hit that and quickly flip to all of the feedback that requires your attention. This is really great when you're in a 360 review process, when there's a lot of requests you've received at one time. You can go through here, complete those, and they'll move out of your needs action section. So if we go back to the inbox, and let's say I want to write a 360 review about my teammate Moni, and it's been a while, and so I want to reflect on what was the feedback that I previously sent her, so I can use that to help inform the feedback that I give her. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the feedback sent, and then I'm also going to filter down by Moni. So here I can see all the feedback that I've sent Moni. I'm able to access it super quickly, so I can jump in and see what I've previously submitted, so I can use that to inform my request.
That's amazing. I recently used this feature a lot for our internal 360 review process. And it's so handy to be able to filter by teammate. I really love that update.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's say I'm preparing for a one-on-one that I have with my direct report, Darcy. I can also jump in here and I can quickly flip down to see feedback that I've received from others about Darcy. So that's a great way for me to be able to stay on top of all the feedback that I received about myself and about my team. Okay, then last thing I want to show you about the changes we've made to feedback is a new email that we've introduced for meeting hosts. So after your meeting is ended, if there's any feedback that's been submitted by other attendees of the meeting, you'll get an email with a summary about how the attendees felt about that meeting, and then also any suggestions that they've submitted. So this is a great way to be able to create a really positive meeting culture within your organization by collecting that feedback and iterating based on what other participants have said.
I love this, Shannon. I think there's two reasons why I particularly love it. First, I think it teaches people to proactively give feedback about meetings and make meetings better with time. But then as a meeting host, I've been using this feature and I really like the positive feedback after a team meeting, let's say, where sometimes I leave the meeting wondering, oh, I wonder how people actually felt about that meeting. And then I receive an email saying that most attendees really enjoyed the meeting. I think as a meeting host, it really boosts your confidence in knowing that you're doing your best to improve your meetings. Or if some people are saying that they didn't enjoy the meeting that much, I think it's a great way to also get started on improving those meetings, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Now I would love to show you some enhancements that we've made to the objectives feature. So we've continued to iterate on this feature based on feedback from our customers that are using it with their teams. But there's two main things that I want to highlight today. So the first one is that we've added additional functionality in a comment. So when you add a comment, you can now @mention any of the users on the OKR. And this can be used to be able to request updates from your team if there's anything that you want to request them to go in and let you know about how the progress has been going. So this is a great way to keep your team accountable, in addition to bringing those key results directly into your meeting. So let's say I want to follow up with Moni here to ask about how our key results been going. Any updates for this week? Another thing that I can also do here is I can now paste a link into the comments. So we know this is something that our teams have been using to be able to reference where they're getting that data to update the key result values. So this is a way to make it easy for you to quickly reference that and update your key results.
Yes, I'm a big fan of this one because I've been wanting to add links to my key result updates. So thank you, product team.
Yeah, absolutely. And the last thing that I want to mention is we've made improvements to the cycles filter. So currently you can either select a single cycle or you can select all cycles to view them all at once. We wanted to make it a little bit easier to be able to navigate between the cycles that you're currently in versus being in a planning mode versus reflecting back on objectives that you've previously completed. So by default, we'll show any of the current cycles. And let's say you want to view upcoming cycles because you're planning. You can unselect those and then you can select an upcoming cycle and you'll be able to adjust those key results. And if you're looking to go to a past cycle to reflect on what did we complete as a team in the past, you can select the past cycle and quickly jump back to see what you did previously. So this has removed the need to be able to set a default cycle, which removes the burden on admins to be able to maintain their OKR program within their organization.
I love that, Shannon, and it's something that I've noticed in this version of Fellow. I think the team has really been working behind the scenes to make the experience not only more flexible, but also to save time for our users, right? So what would you say was your favorite part about building Fellow 3.5 or working on this version of Fellow? Would it be feedback? Would it be OKRs? And what particular enhancement?
I think really the focus that's been great for this launch is making a lot of these small but impactful improvements to the experience that really do make the day-to-day so much easier for our customers that are using the product. So I wouldn't say it's one particular thing, but overall making those slight changes just to make it a little bit easier, better and smoother.
I love that. And by making people's day-to-day experience easier and smoother, I think we're also helping them make their overall meeting culture across the organization better, right? By using a tool like Fellow. So Shannon, thank you so much for joining us today. This was amazing. And now I'm really excited to introduce Arsalan, another senior product manager at Fellow, who is here to show us another exciting update. Hey, Arsalan, I just had a great conversation with Shannon, and now I'm really excited to see what you have to show us today.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm gonna show our newest addition to the desktop app. It is called Fellow Desktop Tray app, and I'm gonna start with why we built it, and then I'm gonna walk you through how it works and how you could access it. The reason we built the Tray app is pre-meeting anxiety. I think pre-meeting anxiety is something that many of us have experienced. It's that feeling when the meeting is about to start and you go through all your open tabs and all your windows across different desktops to find that video call link to join to actually join the call, and also to find the agenda and write your notes in it and prepare for that meeting. So we built something to address that, and I'm gonna show you how it works in a second. I'm gonna share my screen. So as I mentioned, Tray app is a new addition to our desktop app. So if you have a desktop app, you will see something on your menu bar here at the top, which tells you what's your next meeting and when it's going to happen. For me, as you can see, it says now and Fellow demo recording at the meeting that I'm currently in. When I click on it, I could see this new Tray app. It tells me when my upcoming meeting, when's that gonna happen, and it allows me to join it, which I'm gonna just click now to show what happens when I click join. When I click join, I'm taken to the video call and I could join the meeting. At the same time, the notes for that meeting is pulled in Fellow. So if I have Fellow minimized or something like that, It still pulls up the notes. And the other thing that I would like to mention here is that it gives you an overview of how your day looks like with this timeline view here. And also it gives you an agenda type of view for the rest of your meetings for the day.
Yes, I absolutely love that. The fact that now I can easily click on the desktop tray app and look at my day and plan ahead for all my meetings. Planning ahead for your meetings and showing up prepared has never been easier.
Absolutely, yeah. And obviously we had that focus on your today in mind when we started building it, but it didn't stop us from actually allowing users to navigate to like the days before, the days ahead, and just work on those notes and have quick access to those meetings to prepare for and to review the action items and whatnot. So yeah, that is one part of the Tray app. Other part that I'm very excited about is the action items tab in the Tray app. So let's say you have some action items that you've created in your Fellow app, or there are some action items that were part of or the result of some of the meetings that you participated in. And you have put them under your Today section in your Fellow app in the My Action Items page. They all show up here so that you could focus on the action items for the day, and you can mark them as done when you're done with them, or you could just edit them, and also you could add new action items here. So it's a pretty easy to use addition to this app that allows you to manage your action items for the day. And also we've allowed you to just access all the action items that you have, and it opens up the app and you can see all of them. The focus of the Tray app is for action items of the day and meetings of the day, so that you don't have to worry about anything else and you just focus on the tasks and the meetings for the day.
That was amazing. I love using the desktop tray app, and I know a lot of leaders will really benefit from it. So Arsalan, I know you were involved in many other features that were showcased by Aiden previously. So I asked Shannon this question. I would like to ask you the same question. What was your favorite part about building Fellow 3.5 or being a part of it?
So there are a lot of things that I were very excited to work on, but if I have to pick one, the one that like intrigued me the most was the new version of our analytics. It is such a powerful tool that unravels some of the behavior in an organization, and also gives you tools to provide guidelines and design policies and actually monitor the compliance with those policies. It is game changer.
I love it as well. My favorite one is the percentage where you can track what meetings have an agenda and which don't. So you can actually implement the no agenda, no agenda policy that we love at Fellow.
Absolutely, yeah.
Awesome, Arsalan. Thank you so much for being a part of the event today. We're really excited about these updates. And now I'm going to pass it along to Ellie and Alex, who are here to show us some really cool integrations.
Hi, I'm Ellie.
And I'm Alex from Fellow. We want to show you that we added some new action item integrations, Monday, Trello in Linear. Action item integrations allow you to connect external task management to Fellow in order to sync your action items. The same as we already implemented in ClickUp, Asana, and Jira.
So since we already support a number of these services, we wanted to make it easier for you to find and filter the ones that are really relevant to you. So if you go into this kebab menu from any of your action items and go to the Browse Integration section, it will now show you a list of all of our supported action item integrations. Only the ones that you've connected from this screen will show up again in your kebab menu, but you can connect any of the ones existing here. And also, if you wanted to connect an integration from the slash menu, you can access it the same as always. So if we let's say specifically would like to set up the Monday integration, I go into my kebab menu and I click link to monday.com. So now I'm going to go through and select which board group that I want to sync with in Monday. And as well, Monday supports multiple different columns of certain types. So for instance, if you have multiple columns in your Monday board that represent different colleagues or employees of yours, you can choose which one of those columns you want to sync the assignee value from Fellow. You could do the same thing with your due date columns as well as your status columns. The same thing applies to our Trello integration. If you go to your Trello kebab menu option, you can choose which one of your Trello lists you want to represent the unchecked and the checked or done status in Fellow. So if you have a specific done column in Trello, you can choose that one here, and whichever one your unchecked status is.
Same thing for linear. So in linear, only the team is mandatory, and we have optional fields as a project, cycle, and status. Also, you can specify which status it's going to be if you check this action item in Fellow, and if you uncheck it. Also, all our action integrations supporting import existing issue from the external provider. In case of linear, you just we have a search input and you type in the issue name here. Let's go with linear API. We search through existing issues in linear. So we have a preview and you can specify statuses. Then we can import existing issue from linear.
And finally, all of our action items also support syncing from the stream settings. So this is the same as before. If you would prefer to select one integration to sync all of your action items from a specific stream, you can do so here with the same configuration options as you would have had from the kebab menu.
We support two-way sync for all our action item integrations. So all changes propagated from Fellow to the external provider and vice versa. For instance, if I change this action item after the sync, I will see these changes in linear. And also if I change something in linear, I will see changes in Fellow.
Thank you so much for watching. We really enjoyed building these features for you and really excited for you to try them out.
Thank you so much, Alex and Ellie. Those integrations will for sure help a lot of our users be more productive. Now, without further ado, let's all click on the link here to join the Q&A with our CEO, Aidan Mirzai. He's here to answer any of your questions.